Hi bakers! I am making a stock today, so I wanted to share my process with you. I know way back in January we kind of talked about stocks when we used our beef stock to make our onion tarts, but I'm making stock today, so I thought I'd share the process a little bit. So if you don't remember, stocks are basically a really flavorful liquid that are used as a base for soups and sauces and lots of other dishes. They could be vegetarian, they could be meat based, seafood based. Basically, we just take really flavorful stuff and infuse it into water. So pretty simple. I'm gonna make two stocks today. First is gonna be a chicken stock, which is gonna be a little bit more in depth, but still really easy. And the second one is gonna be a shrimp stock. Now there are really formal ways to make stocks, literally traditional ways. And if you're working in a restaurant that you were using your own stock all the time, you may be more likely to follow a recipe so it's the same every single time. Or maybe you're not, it kind of depends on the place that you're at. Today I'm going to use making chicken stock because I actually just smoked 3 chickens yesterday. So I have a bunch of chicken bones here left over from that process. Take that out for a second. So here's all my smoked chicken bones. So when we think about cost, I already paid for these bones, but there's still a lot of flavor in them. So I can add them to a stock, extract all that flavor, and then use it again. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that. If you have any skin left over from your chicken that you didn't eat because it was a little soggy or you didn't serve it, whatever, another great thing. These chickens came from a farmer's market, so they still have the necks. So that's a really great flavor booster as well. So all of that is in there. So the next part of a traditional stock is, traditional chicken stock is vegetables. And typically you're gonna include what's called a mirepoix. My Culinary 2 probably remembers. Mirepoix is onions, celery, and carrots. Now sometimes it's hard to add a bunch of like whole vegetables to something like a stock that you know you're just gonna like dump out and throw away later. So just like we talked about when we made those onion tarts, you can actually save the scrap pieces from your vegetables and add them to the stock. So I do that a couple ways. The first way I'm going to show you, ta-da, already fell in, is using scraps from mise en place you're working on right now. So I'm going to make this stock and then later I'm going to make a soup. Tomorrow I'm going to make a soup. So I went ahead and mise en place my veggies that I need for tomorrow's soup. They're in the fridge waiting for me, and so it's going to be really nice quick tomorrow. So I've already got them mise en place here. So I have my carrot scraps and tops and bottoms. I also have the onion skins and ends. Really important if you're getting onions from the grocery store that you take the stickers off, because ew. And I also have celery. I didn't have any celery scraps, so I did just cut up 2 stalks of celery just to add in. Me personally, when I make a stock, I don't really like a really heavy celery, and the same with carrot. If I'm going to go heavy on a vegetable, it's definitely going to be the onion. So I'm going to add all of these scraps here from my mise en place that I just did for the rest of my recipe. And then I also keep a bag all the time in the freezer so if I cut open 1 onion or have some green onions left over or I cut 1 carrot, I can throw those scraps in the freezer, and then whenever I make a stock, I can add that to it. So let's see what I got in here. So I have some red onion in here. Ooh, I have some, I don't know if you can see it, but this is like the bottom of a mushroom. So if you imagine like the mushroom cap and then the stem, the very edge of the stem is usually a little bit tough. So you don't really want to cook it, but it's got a lot of flavor, so that's a really great thing to add. There's actually some more chicken bones in here from sometime when we ate chicken. I see some more carrot scraps, some more onion scraps, more chicken bones. So anything in your onion family would be really great. So I have white onions and sweet onions and red onions in here. Leeks would be really good. Green onions would be really good. Some of your heartier herbs would be great. So I have some thyme. My grandmother grows thyme, and I happen to get some from her garden, so I'm gonna add that in there too. I don't think I have anything. Leeks would be really great. A lot of chefs actually save the rinds from hard cheeses like Parmesan to add to their stocks as well. So all those things, any kind of odds and ends like that, that from ingredients that would traditionally go into a stock, I want to go ahead and add. So, you look in it right now, kind of looks like a pile of garbage. And in a lot of ways it is. So literally everything in this pot, most people would throw away. The only thing that I cut up in here was celery. 2 pieces of celery, which is what, like 25 cents? So 25 cents. I'm gonna fill this up with water. I don't wanna add more water than I have to, so I'm just gonna cover everything. I don't want it to be like boiling in there because then I'll have to condense it down later and that takes a long time. So I'm gonna add some water and then I'll show you the next step. Alright, so I actually decided to add another whole onion to it because I like my broth to be super duper oniony. So I just roughly cut it up in a couple pieces. I still left the skins on because there's lots of flavor in there. So put that in there and you can see that it's just barely, even a couple things are kind of floating above. So I don't want too much water. So this is ready to go. I am gonna go ahead and quickly bring it to a boil. Okay, so I realized I misspoke in my last video and I said bring it to a boil. What I meant to say was bring it to a simmer. So you don't want your stock to boil because what can happen is it can start to kind of bring out some bitter flavors, and it can also, as the bones kind of release some fat, it can start to emulsify that fat, and then it will be like a nice clear broth. Not the end of the world, but it's not perfect either. So I brought this to a simmer and I'm gonna let it simmer for a very long time. Every stock is kind of different. Vegetable stocks go a little quicker, chicken's a little longer, beef is even longer. So it's going to take probably a couple hours. So I'll see you in a couple hours. Alright, so this chicken stock has been going for about 3 hours and is looking really, really great. One thing I want to point out, you maybe have noticed, is that I have not seasoned this stock yet. It's really important, especially because I already cooked that chicken. So remember, I told you way early in the video that I smoked those chickens. So I smoked them so that I could eat the meat. So obviously I seasoned the meat. If I had just salted at the beginning before all the salt had come off of the skin or anything that was still left on the carcass, it may have made my stock overly salty. So I want to wait till this point. I'm going to taste it, season it if I need to. I might not because, like I said, that they were already seasoned, or I might, but it's ready, so I'm gonna get it strained real quick, and we'll see what we got. So we got a colander over top of a big stock pot, and you can see how that water has changed into a nice deep brown. A lot of that color is coming from the smoke. But that is all nice, awesome flavor. And you want to get all of that, what looks like garbage out, because there's still lots of flavor throughout. Alright, here's all the leftover stuff. We've gotten all the flavor out of it. So we've just put ours, so you see the shrimp from the shrimp stock and then all the fun stuff from the chicken stock just sitting here on a sheet pan. As you can see, it's crazy hot. If we were to put this straight into a trash bag, it would melt our trash bag, which is true in the industry or here in our home. And we obviously don't want that, so we're just gonna let this cool here for a while. And then we can move forward. All right, so it's strained once through a colander just to get all the big chunks out. And then we're gonna go a second time through a really nice fine mesh sieve strainer. You can see it's getting out some of those smaller particles that we don't want in our stock. And we're pouring it really slow, so if there's any sediment that's in the bottom, it'll stay in the pot. Any sediment that's too small, I would otherwise go straight through the sifter. You can see those small little particles. We're just gonna keep those in the pot. So the second type of stock I'm gonna make today is shrimp stock. Now my chicken stock that I've got going on right over there, I know exactly what I want to do with it, so I know what's going to flavor well, what's not going to flavor well. My shrimp stock I'm going to make just to make and then put back in the freezer. So I don't really know exactly what I'm going to do with it, so I'm going to make it really neutral, and it's literally just going to be shrimp. Now, a real shrimp stock would have different vegetables in it, like our mirepoix that we talked about earlier. You can have herbs in it, things like that, but because I don't know what I'm going to do with it, I wanted to just strictly be shrimp. Things I might do with it, I might make a soup that's like a seafood soup, or maybe like a gumbo, something like that, or I might use it for grits, for shrimp and grits. That's probably what I'll do, but I don't know yet. So it's gonna be super neutral. My chicken was already cooked and roasted, and that cooking process intensifies the flavors a lot. My shrimp shells are raw. These are from shrimp that I cooked a couple of days ago and I froze. So I'm actually going to toast them off. So I'm going to get my pan going on high with a little bit of oil, just so it's a little lubricant so it doesn't stick to the pan. I want to pick a neutral oil so that it doesn't have a lot of flavor. So canola, vegetable, avocado, those kinds of oils, they don't have really strong flavors. I don't want to do olive oil or butter. It's a really strong flavor. So I'm just going to put a little bit of oil in just to coat the pan. And I'm going to let it heat up. Okay, so my pan is all heated up. What you're looking for is the oil should start to kind of shimmer and kind of dance a little bit. It's very hard to pick up on camera, but that's what my oil is doing. So it's nice and hot. So I can add my shrimp shells in. You can see they're just literally shrimp shells. And I'm just going to toast them until they change color a little bit. And that's how I know they're going to get more depth of flavor. Okay, so I've cooked these shrimp for a little while, and they've all turned nice and pink. And it smells pretty shrimpy in here. You can kind of see at the bottom of the pot is a little bit sticky, and that's okay, because as soon as I add water, that's all going to come up. So I know this is nice, exactly where I want it to be. So I'm going to take it over to the sink and add, just like I did before, just enough water to cover it, and then we're going to simmer it. Alright, so I added the water. You can see it's just barely covered. Some of it might be a little sticking out. You can already see that the water's kind of gotten cloudy, and that's just picking up the bits of shrimp that were stuck to the bottom. All that color change in our water means that flavor's getting into our water, which is exactly what we want. All that nice shrimp flavor is coming out of the shells, which we can't eat because ew, and going straight into our water so that we can use that up. Now our shrimp are obviously shells. They're way thinner than chicken bones. This is going to go much faster than my chicken stock that is, I think, now an hour or two in. So this is only going to take 5 to 10 minutes maybe, and then that'll be done. If you want proof that this house smells like shrimp, here's your proof right here. Some shrimp? Do you want shrimp? Do you want shrimp? Alright, so I've got my bowl and my strainer ready, and I'm just going to strain it straight in here very carefully. Obviously it's very hot. Obviously I want to make sure I get all these shrimp shells out because I don't want to eat shrimp shells. They are not tasty. Well, they're tasty, but now not anymore because we got all the flavor into our stock. Alright. So hopefully you can see how much this water has changed color. It's kind of like a corally peach. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my time and really squeeze all the stock out that might be hiding in the shell, because there's lots of flavor still in here. Alright, so strained out all my shrimp shells, and I have, hot, this shrimp stock. So you can see it's kind of like pinky orange. So that's how you know there's lots of awesome flavor in there. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put it back on the stove, and I'm going to cook it a little bit longer just to reduce it. You don't have to do that. I'm doing it because I need freezer space. Since, like I said, I'm not going to use this soon. I'm just going to put it in the freezer for when I need shrimp stock. I want it to be smaller, so it's going to be really condensed. So when I actually go to use it, I'll probably add some more water back to it. So it's not like shrimp in your face, because shrimp in your face is pretty strong. So I'm going to put it back on. And then I'm actually going to bring it to a boil now that there's not solids in there. And I'm going to let it reduce probably by about a half or so. Okay? Alright, so my shrimp stock is reduced down to the quantity I want it. So something that's going to fit in like a pint container, just so that it doesn't fill up my freezer too much. I'm going to season it to taste. I don't have to worry too much about seasoning it, just because whatever, it's not done. It's going into a dish. I do want it to be seasoned, but I don't want it to be heavily seasoned. Had I salted it earlier and then reduced it, it might have been like crazy salty, and it may have been a little bit harder to incorporate in dishes, just because I'd have to like get really particular with how much water I added to make sure it wasn't too salty. So I did want to wait to the end. So I'm going to salt it now, taste it. When I'm happy with it, pop it in a container, let it cool completely. Probably end up having to put it in the fridge to cool even more, and then put it in the freezer when it's completely cool. Alright, so here we have our two stocks today. So we have our shrimp stock here, which is that kind of pink corally color, and then our chicken stock. Now remember, I smoked this chicken, so that's why it's so dark. If you had just made chicken with maybe a roasted chicken or something, a rotisserie chicken maybe, baked chicken, it wouldn't be quite this dark. This is very dark. But that also means it's going to be a really awesome flavor in the soup that I make with it. So there is our stock. We're going to let it cool at room temperature until it's cool enough to put into the fridge. And then we're going to put it in the fridge, and then we can either cook with it tomorrow, we could put it in the freezer for later, whatever we need to do.